It's been so like hard. Like the weekend is easy because I can just sit all day and watch everything.
Yeah.
But during the week, I'm tired in the middle of the day.
Yeah, me too.
And like this morning, I get up and U.S. Women's National Team are already in the 80th minute of their game. And tonight the men play what at 10:30, 11:30?
It is a Tuesday, but it's more than that. It's a Taco Tuesday, but it's more than that. It's an Olympic Taco Tuesday, but it's more than that. It's an Olympic NFL training camps underway Taco Tuesday, but it's more than that. It's an Olympic NFL training camps. Aaron Rodgers is back. Taco Tuesday. And wait a minute, it's more than that. It's an Olympic NFL training camps. Aaron Rodgers is back, and Texas and OU may be headed to the SEC quicker than we thought. Taco Tuesday. Welcome in. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney, and serving all week long, Jeremy Fouts, the boy wonder and nephew of NFL Hall of Fame quarterback Dan Fouts. In my mind, anyway, Jeremy Fouts with us. Shannon Salty Sweeney, I'm assuming you just stay up all night watching the Olympics. Just no sleep all week long. We have Olympic fever.
Yeah, I haven't slept since last Tuesday when the softball team kicked it off.
Exactly.
I run on Duncan. I really do.
Nice. Better than running on cocaine or crack or crystal meth, because management frowns upon that. But you can run on Duncan, and Duncan needs to be a sponsor. I mean, that's your go-to coffee of choice in the morning.
Yeah. They are on my route to work and open at the time.
Yes,
I come in.
And Duncan needs to partner with Tim Duncan. I'm just saying that would be perfect.
Yeah, that feels like a giant missed opportunity.
Just a big old each Duncan donuts, and they're not even called Duncan anymore. Donuts. I know it's just Duncan. Yeah. And I know he spells it differently. There's no K in Tim Duncan's Duncan, but just every Duncan should have a big either cardboard cutout or inflatable Tim Duncan holding up a cup of coffee. I would like that.
Do y'all have Duncan throughout San Antonio? Because they're kind of rare in Austin.
Yeah, I don't know if it's throughout. I'd have to check. That's a really good question. I know close to the studio over on Hebner near 1604, I see a sign that says "Coming soon, another Duncan load." So they're building a new one, maybe 3 miles away from the studio.
Because Colt, I believe, is part of Duncan here in Austin, and I think his location was the one on the drag right across from campus, but it closed thanks to the pandemic and just no foot traffic, because anything on the drag is all foot traffic, and so that was the only central location.
Very wise of Colt McCoy to spend some of his NFL money investing in a Duncan franchise.
Yeah.
And didn't you tell me his dad owns a restaurant or owned a restaurant in the Austin area?
That's Nick Foles.
Nick Foles. See, my famous quarterback's dad's restaurants. I'm confusing them.
He's got a new one coming that'll open today, actually, downtown. Jay Carver.
Wow.
Looks to be an incredible steakhouse. I saw they did like a soft opening over the weekend, and I had some friends who went, and the food looks incredible.
My goodness.
Like a lobster bisque, but in a bread bowl. Are you kidding me?
Ooh.
All day. I'd eat that all day.
Nice. By the way, on our live video feed, Jason Paniagua says we have tons of Duncans throughout San Antonio. So I haven't been out much since the pandemic. So I haven't been around town much since 2019, which is weird.
Need to connect with our San Antonio salespeople and get me on that.
Yeah, it's so weird. Yeah, we need to do that. Mm-hmm. Yes, if anybody connected with Duncan, nobody guzzles more Duncan coffee than Shannon Salty Sweeney. So you guys need to sponsor the show. Yeah, it's so weird talking about just not doing anything since the pandemic. My family, and I see Steve Duraco, who was there, my good friend and unofficial brother from another mother. My niece, her name is Taylor, is having a baby. So we had a baby shower over the weekend for her. and a bunch of family came into town. And I thought about it. It was like, this was the first family event with, more than just like one, like my mom, that we've done since 2019. Because of the pandemic, there's been no Thanksgiving, there's been no Christmas gatherings, there's been no birthday gatherings. It was weird, like for the first time since 2019 to do kind of a family gathering event. It's our lives have been so changed ever since the pandemic.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I think the first sporting event I went to, not necessarily post-pandemic, but once people were started to allow to go out of their homes, was Dell Match Play, but it still didn't feel like an event because there was very few people actually walking around. There's still, lots of mask wearing going on. So it wasn't until I went to that Austin FC game a few weeks ago that I was like, oh, this is what being out with people feels like. And it's so weird because you and I are so used to going to these events all of the time, and now I feel like we're re-experiencing everything over and over. And in one way, you appreciate it that much more.
True.
You take it all in.
Very, very true. And Jason Garcia saying there are 19. Wow, that's crazy. I had no idea. 19 Dunkin' locations in San Antonio.
Off the top of your head, Jason, or are you looking that up? I appreciate.
I'm assuming he's Googling. I'm assuming, and I hope he's not lying. But I know, and we see Jason in here a lot. Jason is a reliable source. So
yeah, I could use that many more Dunkins in my life.
Woo, absolutely. Well, lots going on, Shannon, in the world of sports. We are all over it all morning long, and more now. In fact, I messaged you one of the articles from a Longhorns site yesterday. More and more now, people reporting on this Texas Longhorns and Oklahoma Sooners migration to the SEC. The contract goes through 2025 with the Big 12, apparently, but a lot of people believe that it's not going to go that long. They could wind up in the SEC sooner, and some people are saying much sooner than 2025.
Yeah, and like we talked about, Alabama's on the schedule as of right now to be for a home-and-home series with Texas beginning in 2022, so 2022, 2023. So at the very least, we'll get some action within the next couple of years. But yes, you're right. The belief is that Texas and OU are willing to shell out what's, I think, being reported as $80 million.
My goodness.
To depart, and then I believe they also have to, throughout their earnings during the rest, whatever that period would be, to give some of that back to the Big 12. I saw Booger McFarland of the Four Letter Network say, "Who just has that kind of money? They don't have that kind of money." Like, excuse me, we found $24 million pretty quick to get rid of Tom Herman.
Yeah.
Let's not mention the money we kept paying Coach Strong to go away. Texas Tech and Kevin Eltife, the chancellor or former senator, has said he's got the money ready to go. He's got it lined up. So money will not be an issue. You sent me an article. It said as soon as 2022.
Wow, and that's next season.
That would be very fast. I would predict something more like 2023 because it depends what the other schools are doing. Because I don't think you can leave them hanging that dry. I don't know what they would do. It's like they just play each other more than once.
You're on your own. Yeah. Well, I think at that point for Texas and for Oklahoma, in fact, I loved Shannon, the Oklahoma State president, either Case or Casey Shrum, however you pronounce his name. His quote yesterday about Oklahoma going to the SEC says, quote, "It is difficult to understand how an Oklahoma institution of higher education would follow the University of Texas to the detriment of the state of Oklahoma." Detriment? And why would you? Because it's better football, because it's the SEC. You're Oklahoma State. Your coach has a mullet. Shut up. I'm sorry, a little sour grapes there, in my opinion.
I'm loving a lot of the interaction that's already coming via the Twitterverse about all of this. I saw yesterday Ole Miss posted, the SEC caption. It's something about it's just better here, whatever. But they posted pictures of them scoring touchdowns on both Oklahoma and Texas. Yes, the last time Ole Miss played Texas, they won. Congratulations. It was 2013, and that
Yeah.
was arguably one of Texas's worst seasons. But you look at the overall record and the overall stats, that's not something that you want to like bring up to some Texas fans because they were quickly learned a lesson about the true history of that rivalry. But I love it. Like it's I mean, we're not even playing yet and we're already having these conversations. It is the most wonderful thing ever, but for OU to think that they're the better of the two is quite hilarious.
Yep. Hey, it is 6:20. We do this at 6:20 and at 7:20. It is the Grand in Your Hand cash contest. Somebody's going to get $1,000. It may as well be you. We're going to give you a keyword and a place to text that keyword right now. If you do that, your name is in the hat and you have a chance to win $1,000 right now. Here it comes.
Now, your chance to win $1,000. Text the nationwide keyword EASY to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard
Anthony, Jason, Lucinda,
nationwide contest.
Steve Duraco,
EASY to 200-200.
Louisa. Easy like Sunday morning, sang the Commodores and Lionel Richie back in 1977. I know because I had the 8-track. Speaking of music, we should introduce the pride of Oklahoma Christian University, the flawless and fabulous boy wonder, with us all week long to entertain and dazzle you and rock your world, the lovely, the talented Jeremy Fouts. Jeremy, how you doing this morning?
What's up, guys? I'm pretty good, and I would like to wish both of you a happy Bagpipe Appreciation Day.
Bagpipe Appreciation Day. Not a lot of bagpipes
That's it.
in my life.
What else is there? There's National Chicken Finger Day.
Chicken Finger Day.
Chicken fingers.
Chicken tendies.
Cream Brulee Day. National Cream Brulee Day. Excuse me. National Scotch Day.
Scotch Day.
National Korean War Veterans Armistice Day. And Take Your Pants for a Walk Day.
Take your
Let me
pants.
see if I can
What the?
see what the heck that means.
Some of these days. And I know
I can get behind.
Yeah, I whine and complain about this all the time, but come on, some of these national blank take your pants for a walk day. Who the heck came up with that and why?
It seems to be you just need to go walking wearing a pair of pants.
Well, why
That's
can't
how
it
you
be
celebrate
walking
it.
day? Why can't it be go out and walk day? Why can't it be National Walk Day, whether you're in shorts or sweats or pants or whatever you want? It's just so weird.
Interestingly, today is also Walk on Stilts Day, so perhaps you
Walk
could
on
celebrate
Stilts Day.
both simultaneously.
Woo! Woo, woo, woo. Well, Shannon, another big story yesterday. Apparently, the mystery is over. Aaron Rodgers, apparently, according to reports, will be under center as the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers this season. A lot of people did say that was the smart money, but you know, Aaron Rodgers is a different breed of cat, so you never know what he's thinking. There is some talk that the Packers might, to make Aaron Rodgers happy, maybe rescind the final year of his contract to just, you know, and then maybe renegotiate it if he wants to stay in Green Bay. Going to be interesting to see how that relationship goes throughout this season, Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers.
Do you think it goes well? Because I don't see it going well either way.
I got a feeling that if he wants out, and and he's still, we've talked about this, he holds a grudge. And so I have a feeling that he's going to, and even last season, he was very contrary in media interviews. I think he's going to make their life very, very difficult in interviews throughout the season and just make management led by general manager Mark Murphy or team president Mark Murphy just want to just get him out. I got a feeling it's going to be a little ugly.
Just no matter what the conversation will be, he's probably not coming back. You know, if they're winning, then the conversation is, why would you leave an organization that finally did everything you said and look how great you were and you won these games and whatever. And then if they lose, then the conversation becomes, oh, he's not trying. He's just, killing time until he gets out of here. I think if you're another player on that roster, you're going to get sick of it, and you're going to get sick of it real fast.
And, we talked about this about Deshaun Watson before things went real south, and Deshaun Watson, as we know, is back in the news. But again, Shannon, it's such a no-brainer. If you've got a franchise quarterback, in this case, Aaron Rodgers, you just, if you're going to draft another quarterback, you call him. And you not only call him, you sit down with him. Or you do a Zoom call in the era of COVID a month before the draft. You go, hey, we love you. You're our man, but you can never have enough quarterbacks in this league. We're going to go get Jordan Love. And that probably would have diffused a whole lot of this.
Now, to me, it sounds like in this kind of reworking of the contract, that Aaron's getting a lot of say when it comes to what happens at the end of this next season, as far as whether he stays or he goes and where he goes. So given that they finish the season, doesn't really matter how it ends, but he decides, I'm not coming back. You look at the Texans, who could potentially need a quarterback. Right now, all eyes say Spencer Rattler is your guy. If you're given the opportunity to get Aaron Rodgers, give him the world, because you got out of your contract with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Is he enough to fix that team?
I don't think he is. There's so many holes on that Texans team. And, Rodgers, you look at his age and you think maybe he's got a couple of really good years left. I also heard yesterday somebody, might have been Dan Patrick, speculating Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins maybe not loving Tua as much as they had hoped when they drafted him out of Alabama. And, the Dolphins are a team that has a lot of skilled players on both sides of the ball and may be just a quarterback away from challenging Buffalo in that AFC East. I could see Aaron Rodgers in a Miami Dolphins uniform.
The battle for Florida.
Yes.
How right? There's always the jokes of old people going and retiring in Florida. Look at the NFL.
Yeah.
Leading the way with that narrative.
And how wild would that be in the AFC? Your two Florida franchises maybe meeting in the Super Bowl, Brady and the Bucks, and Aaron Rodgers and the Dolphins. My goodness, that could be cool. All right, 6:27, lots going on, including the high five play of the day, which is next. A little bit later in the 8 o'clock hour, Shannon's Salty Shakedown, this day in sports history, sports birthdays, and more. There you go. There's Easy by the Commodores. Thank you, Jeremy Fouts. You can join us at any time. Something on your mind in the world of sports or elsewhere, we'll talk about it with you. Phone number 800-707-9760. The live video feed is up and running. Facebook Live, if you want to get it that way. Lots of ways to get it. AM 1300 The Zone's Facebook page. Ticket 760's Facebook page. There is a YouTube link and a Twitch link to get in as well. We'll tell you what the poll question is coming up in the next segment as well. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. Jeremy Fouts making the show go. I'm Chris. It's the Chris Duel Show. What am I listening to? Is it that? Okay. All right. I'm going to grab some coffee. See who's in here. Tracy Bogert, Ty Jones. Good to see you. Tracy Bogert, president of the Bexar County Marjorie Taylor Greene MAGA Republicans and voting suppressors. Welcome in. Wes Perkins, Jerry Lauder, Luisa Alanis, Hector Gomez, Anthony Del Toro, Lucinda Sullivan with the coffee emoji, Steve DiRocco, The Rock, the original Italian stallion, Jason Paniagua, buenos dias. Excuse me. John Williams from Dallas. Yeah, Tracy, the Astros run differential tremendous, but I hate that they lost last night. But you can't win them all. As long as they go back and rattle off another 4 wins before they lose again, I'll be all right with that. All right. I have my big old humongous container of coffee. I bring in my own coffee because I'm a coffee snob. And because I don't like the coffee that tastes like soap. Not that I'm complaining. All right. Back in a sec.
Hey, Jason, I see your comment there, bro. Not my fault. Blame my boss. It's because I was covering somebody all week 2 weeks ago, and then I'm covering Chris all this week is why I haven't been on Blue Collar. But I will be back on there next week, this week, the next show. The next Blue Collar show, I will be back on there. So don't worry. I know Felix is not as good as me, obviously. So don't worry. The king will return. But I appreciate you mentioning that. Oh man, the predictions. That's gonna be rough. That's gonna be rough. It's gonna be hard. Because I always have to come up with something funny. And it's hard every week to come up with something that's equally funny as last week. But it's fun. So
Foamfoot 420, welcome in. Tracy Bogert says the Astros will be fine. I think they will too. Although yesterday they were tied with the Red Sox. I didn't see what the Red Sox did last night. Let's see. I want the best record in the American League. In fact, I want the best record in baseball so that the World Series home. I would just love it too. So much Astros hating going on. Red Sox won last night. So Red Sox now a full game ahead of the Astros. 62-39. Astros 61-40. San Francisco Giants with the best record in baseball at 62-37. So the one game on the win column and 3-2. So the Astros are 2 games behind the San Francisco Giants for the best record in baseball, which is cool. Yeah, Jason, 5-4 win over Toronto. Yeah, Jason, we will do NFL predictions certainly as we get closer to the regular season. I'm sure Shannon and I will each do every team's record and, of course, playoffs. I don't know, the Cowboys, do they go 8-9 or do they go 9-8? Because they can't go 8, or maybe I'm going to pick the 8-1. Maybe. That would be a bold prediction to predict a tie. 8-1. And of course, I'm hoping the Cowboys shock us and do something like a, like a 12-5. Tracy Bogert, Tampa Bay and Chiefs Super Bowl. That's the smart pick, Tracy. But, what are the odds that both teams wind up back there? And I know they're supposed to, but so many things can go wrong. And it's almost never exactly what you think it will be. Although I did pick at the beginning of last year, and it's documented and time-stamped on Twitter, I picked Tampa Bay to go to and win the Super Bowl, I believe over Kansas City, behind Tom Brady. And when I made that pick before last season, a lot of people were not believing it. Foamfoot says 11-6 for the Cowboys. That sounds about right if they don't underachieve. That defense is god-awful, as we know. Let me take a look here. Thank God for coffee. Woo! Okay, I see a breaking news story. Simone Biles out in team finals. What does that mean? I'm clicking on it. Apparently, this is breaking news. Little lover boy for you. Everybody's working for the weekend. Okay, Shannon, I'm trying to figure. I clicked on it and there's no. Maybe you know more about this story than I do. Chris Duel show with Shannon Salty Sweeney coming up. Your high five play of the day. Now, on the 4-Letter Network's website, Shannon, it says breaking news, and it's got a picture of Simone Biles. And it says Olympic gymnastics live updates. And then the headline says Simone Biles out in team finals. So then you go, okay, what does that mean specifically? So then you click on the link, and there's nothing new on the link. There's the previous story that says beginning at 6:45 Eastern, which was 5:45 Central, Simone Biles and others will compete for their third straight Olympic gold medal team competition. So maybe the headline is updated, but you click on the story and it's not. Do you know anything about that, Shannon? And I know it's so weird. Here we are on the radio doing this show while there are live Olympic updates, and it's hard to track down these stories. But apparently there seems to be some kind of a story involving Simone Biles going on right now at the Olympics. Ooh. Okay. Yes. She is, I would say, other than like the basketball team and Kevin Durant, and that's kind of a different animal. You put them to the side. I think Simone Biles, the most recognizable American in these Olympics. I mean, you could argue the women's soccer team and Megan Rapinoe and others, but I really, Simone Biles is kind of the face of Team USA for these Olympics, I would think.
That she's
Yes. Mm-hmm. My goodness. So we will keep an eye on this. It is a breaking story, still fluid. We're still getting details. Simone Biles apparently injured, pulling out of the team competition for gymnastics in the Olympics, which is going on right now in Tokyo. So keep it right here. We'll continue to run that story down for you this hour and all morning long. Right now, though, it is time. Speaking of the Olympics, it is so many of the high fives that we'll be giving out now for the next week or two will be Olympic oriented. And this one is. It is time for the high five play of the day. There's your music, brought to you by Jeremy Fouts. High five appropriately, brought to you by High Five. For your entertainment, for your sports viewing, you can catch a lot of Olympic action, certainly, at High Five. And 2 locations in Austin. All kinds of great stuff going on there as well, including laser tag, axe throwing, food specials, drink specials. It is kid friendly. It is adult friendly. High Five when you go there in the Austin area. 2 locations. Look for Shannon. She may be wielding an axe, and she's probably going to throw it unless you say something really, really stupid to her. Then she may come after you. That's all I'm saying.
Is axe throwing an Olympic sport?
You know what? If it's not, I don't think it is, but if it's becoming so popular. I mean, if skateboarding is an Olympic sport, I think axe throwing should be considered.
Maybe that's my in.
You could be the Simone Biles of Team USA axe throwing.
Yes. Yes.
And High Five could be your sponsor on your axe throwing jersey. You could have High Five. That could be your sponsor.
We're going to keep it with the Olympics. Chris, last you and I checked, the medal count for the U.S. was at 22, putting them in first place.
USA!
Are gold medals. One of those coming from, I believe you pronounce her name, Anastasia Zolotic, who won the first women's taekwondo gold for Team USA.
Woo!
Which winning gold medal is fantastic. Winning it when you are not expected to. This was her first Olympics. All signs were she was going to come in. She was ranked 7th for these games. That this was kind of going to be her trial run, right? Her getting to know the Olympics and the competition, and that in 2024 in Paris would be when she came to play. But that timeline has been thrown out the window, Chris, because she went ahead and won gold her first Olympics, 18 years old. The reaction for those that got to see it when she, when the match was over and she won, the pure joy and excitement. It's part of why we love the game so much. Congratulations to her, 18 years old, her first Olympic gold medal. And while we're on women taking care of business on the Olympic floor, we have to give a shout out as well to the U.S. women's basketball team because they have now won 50 straight Olympic games.
Wow.
Beating Nigeria. That's pretty incredible. And by the way, today's high five, it wasn't you or I, Chris, that came up with this. We had a listener tweet us.
Yes.
So thank you to that listener.
And it was actually Jason Paniagua is
Jason. All right.
Jason on Facebook Live and the live video feed.
Yeah, we are always willing and welcome to take any high fives, whether it be local. Maybe your kid had a great T-ball game and they knocked a couple homers. I don't know how T-ball works. I don't know how far the fences are. We love to hear them. We love to spread the positivity. So thank you so much for that submission. And again, a high five to Anastasia Zolotic for the first women's gold in Taekwondo.
Yeah, I did see the video, as you mentioned, of her winning, Shannon, and it was so cool. She won. She flew off the ring, which was kind of elevated, and just embraced her coach. Just absolutely euphoric. I mean, that's part of what I love about watching the Olympics, Shannon, is just dreams coming true. And just the exuberance and the exhilaration and the excitement. And as you mentioned, in her case, not a favorite, not supposed to win gold. She's 18, as you mentioned. Maybe next time in Paris, you'll be a little older, you'll be a little more seasoned, maybe you'll win the gold then. For her to win gold in Taekwondo ahead of schedule, that's so cool. And to do it for Team USA, all the better.
Another Team USA member ahead of schedule, 17-year-old Alaskan Lydia Jacoby, who won the gold medal in 100-meter breaststroke.
Woo!
Again, she was super excited, but my favorite, because there aren't fans in the stands, I love when we get the watch party look-ins. Her parents were having a watch party in one place. Her entire town in Alaska was having a watch party at their train station. When I first saw the video, I thought it was just reaction to her already having won, until I turned on the audio and realized that they were that hype throughout the entire race. And then to see at the end when she had won, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that brings happy tears to my eyes. I love all these Olympic stories. Another great one yesterday. We were talking about skateboarding. The women's street skating took place. And Chris, gold medal went to a 13-year-old, silver medal, 13-year-old, bronze, 16-year-old.
Well, and the 13-year-old and the 16-year-old Japanese, correct? I believe they were from Japan.
I believe, and then there was a Brazilian who took home a medal. And I believe the Brazilian, there was a viral video that Tony Hawk, the chillest dude on earth, shared in 2015 of this girl trying to nail a trick that she eventually did in a tutu princess outfit. And he was like, I don't know the backstory to this, but this is incredible. And now she's an Olympic medalist 6 years later with Tony Hawk on the call. That is pretty crazy. And they are so much younger than me, and I don't feel accomplished today. I'm happy for them, but I feel bad about myself.
Yeah. And back to the swimmer for a moment, Lydia Jacoby. You mentioned she's from Alaska. She was the first Alaskan swimmer ever to capture Olympic gold. You don't think of swimmers coming out of Alaska. That's why that was like...
I don't know how many indoor pools there.
Yeah. In Alaska, not known as a hotbed for swimming necessarily. So... yeah, I'm looking at, I'm on Twitter right now, and we've got this breaking story about Simone Biles pulling out of the team competition. And granted, it's Twitter, so I'm searching Simone Biles and clicking on latest to see what the latest thing is that people are saying about Simone Biles. And The news organizations are saying apparent injury, but we still don't see specifically, what that injury was. And we'll continue to track that story for you. It is breaking right now. It is the current biggest Olympic story involving Team USA at the moment. And it was the team final. Apparently, according to the New York Times reporting, she faltered badly on a vault. That put Team USA behind Russia. And then she left the floor briefly before pulling out of the team final for Team USA. So going to be very interesting, Shannon, as we continue to track that story. I would imagine within moments or minutes, we should get some clarification from people from Tokyo, specifically what happened, what is the injury or what is the issue that caused Simone Biles to pull out. But it's a big story. And as you mentioned, Shannon, gosh, so much pressure on her and such a favorite, not only a favorite to win, but a favorite among fans is just someone that, we adore, Simone Biles. And of course, part of her story, Shannon, as you know, she went through some abuse with a coach in her journey in gymnastics, as so many young girls have, sadly and horribly. And God love her for finding a way to transcend that and still become just absolutely fantastic at what she does.
How old is she now?
Good question. I'll Google that and get back to you in a second.
Unless I think she's from Brazil, who just said she's done with the Olympics. She's a vaulter. Competed
24. Simone is 24.
Just competed in her 8th Olympics. I think she's in her 40s. Which is unheard of for gymnasts, but Simone Biles 24. That's considered, that's up there in gymnastics. So I hope it's not the last we see of Simone Biles repping for the U.S. But as huge of a story as this is, I hope it doesn't overshadow the crazy amount of things she's already achieved, and people are kind and don't. For as much as people get behind Team USA and the excitement, they also feel like when they watch someone perform poorly or whatever, that they have a right to come after them because you're representing me and my country.
Yeah. And sadly, as you know well, Shannon, there's a group of loud, obnoxious people on social media, such as Twitter, who no matter what, as accomplished as Simone Biles is, and the great things that Simone Biles has done, inevitably, you're going to see some yahoos saying some awful things about her on social media. I'm reading, by the way, Fox News reporting Simone Biles appeared to injure herself after slipping, trying to land near a vault attempt. They write at foxnews.com, Simone Biles pulled out of the entire team finals at the Tokyo Olympics after appearing to injure herself during a vault attempt. So big breaking story. And you mentioned about the future of Simone Biles at age 24. That is up there for a gymnast. But my goodness, she just seems to have such a bright future doing whatever she wants to do as a commentator, as a personality. Who knows what the future holds for Simone Biles? But I got a feeling it's going to be bright.
Yeah, and this is just, as of right now, just the team competition. So I guess she's leaving individuals open for right now.
Yeah, we hope there's not an injury that would preclude her from participating.
And this may be just like an ultimate team move of her to say, look, I don't think I can perform my best. I don't want to bring the team down. Should I be injured, let's put in somebody else. So that's got to be huge of her to make that call.
We'll keep an eye on that breaking Olympic story involving Simone Biles. We'll keep an eye on the rest of the Olympics. And we've got some breaking Ted Lasso story, some news involving Ted Lasso as well. We'll get into that and more. Till 9, it's the Chris Duel Show.
Did you lose me on video there for a while?
At the beginning, yeah, you froze and then you went off for a little bit, but not long.
My computer screen said it doesn't have the memory to do anything. I was like, what?
Odd.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
And Lydia is committed to Texas.
Very cool. I see Louisa mentioning that. Jerry saying, watching the Olympics right now, saying that Biles is out, however, is not injured. Yeah, there's some people, and I didn't want to quote them on the radio on Twitter, saying that she was just angry that she faltered on a vault and stormed off. Again, though, those are not news organizations. Those are individuals on Twitter, so I didn't want to quote them on the radio till we get something more official. Chris here for the wonderful people at R&R Auto Glass. Since 2006, it's where I take my vehicle. They can replace any piece of glass on your vehicle, chip filling and repair, window regulators, camera calibration, all with a lifetime warranty. UTSA senior military discounts as well. Ask them about the Duel deal. Save even more money off the already low, reasonable pricing. Everything's at the website. Check it out. rnrautoglass.com. R&R Auto Glass. Okay. Let's do this. Chris here for the wonderful folks at R&R Auto Glass. It's where I take my vehicle. They can replace any piece of glass on your vehicle, chip filling and repair, window regulators, camera calibration, all with a lifetime warranty. Customer service through the roof. UTSA senior military discounts. Ask them about the Duel deal. Save even more money off the already low, very reasonable pricing. Go check out the website. All the info is there. rnrautoglass.com. R&R Auto Glass. Nobody does it better than R&R Auto Glass. Nobody's going to save you more money with a lifetime warranty. They can replace any piece of glass on your vehicle, chip filling and repair, window regulators, camera calibration. Don't forget that lifetime warranty. That's big. UTSA senior military discounts. Ask them about the Duel deal. Save even more money on the already low, very reasonable pricing. All the information is at the website. Check it out. rnrautoglass.com. R&R Auto Glass. John Paul Albert, I do like Ted Lasso. I'm still in season 1. I got to get caught up and move into season 2. Good morning, Clint Proctor. Clint, I saw something online. You're going to run a triathlon, I think I saw. Foam foot 420, carrying the weight of a nation is a lot of pressure for a 24-year-old. Yeah, totally agree with that. Let's see here. There it is. The heck happened there? Clint Proctor doing the Iron Man. Very cool, sir. You're an animal. Here we go.
This is the Chris Duel Show.
You know the day destroys the night, night divides the day.
Now, Chris Duel.
On an Olympic Taco Tuesday with breaking news that occurred just moments ago, Simone Biles pulling out of the Olympics team gymnastic competition. It could be your big Olympic story of the day, and it is breaking right now as we speak, and we are all over it, among other things. It's the Chris Duel Show, along with Shannon Salty Sweeney. And in addition to tweeting at us, both at AM 1300 The Zone and or at Ticket 760, you can tweet at us individually as well. Shannon on Twitter at Shannon B. Sweeney. I'm on Twitter at Chris Duel. And Shannon, Rudy G tweeting at us saying, Simone Biles is a champion several times over, and she seems like an all-around good person. I agree. She was the ultimate teammate here. She knew she couldn't go and deferred to her teammates to bring it home, and they will. So that's a little bit of reaction. I'm sure people around the country reacting to Simone Biles. And one of our viewers on the live video stream made a good point during the break there, Shannon. Carrying the weight of a nation is a lot of pressure for a 24-year-old. And as you and I talked about, Simone Biles is 24 years old.
That, again, unimaginable and high expectations. And you have to imagine that as a gymnast and that perfection that they seek, no one is harder on themselves than her. No one could say anything that she hasn't already said to herself, but that does not give us the right to pile on, especially not knowing all of the circumstances. But I agree. I think it's an ultimate teammate move because, as we said, she is, as of right now, only backed out of the team competition, which will allow an alternate to go into her place to perform at their best. And it does not mean by any stretch that Team USA is out of the running to medal or even get a gold medal. It just means Simone Biles won't be part of it.
Yeah, we will keep an eye on this story as we continue to get breaking developments out of Tokyo regarding Simone Biles. That's obviously a big story. Shannon, another big story yesterday, shifting to the National Football League, as this is the week that all of the other teams will begin reporting to training camp. Of course, the Dallas Cowboys and the Pittsburgh Steelers reported last week as they play early in that Hall of Fame game on August 5th in Canton, Ohio. But the Indianapolis Colts head coach Frank Reich currently out of action because he has tested positive for COVID-19. Now, he was vaccinated, as certainly coaches are expected to be vaccinated. We've heard some stories of a couple of coaches in the NFL who have, assistant coaches who have resigned their positions because they had anti-vax stances. But Frank Reich, vaccinated but tested positive for COVID. Apparently, obviously, this is possible. the vaccine, as we've discussed, Shannon, it doesn't mean you won't get COVID. It does tend to mean, based on the science and based on the medicine, you have an overwhelmingly better chance of not going to the hospital, of not developing major symptoms. And apparently that's where we are right now with Indianapolis Colts head coach Frank Reich, who will be out of action for a while.
And unfortunately, with the way things are going right now, and everyone, including vets, now coming into camps, we will probably hear more of these stories. But I think, like last year, right, the idea was if you got COVID in the off season, then you'd probably be okay for the regular season. So if you want to look at it that way, which I do, because glass half full, I'm positive this week.
Okay.
Being positive this week, he'll
Woo!
be ready to go. And again, like you said, he's been vaccinated, so his chances of survival are immensely greater than having not been vaccinated. And again, in a time when they're trying to get these teams to greater percentages of vaccination rates, he'll be able to tell his story, and I think that might be what more NFL players need who aren't yet convinced, is someone who's been through it with the vaccine. Because I've heard stories of, even though you have the vaccine, you're not going to the hospital for it. It is still a miserable experience to have COVID.
Yeah.
And so to have the vaccine and still have that experience, you don't want whatever that experience is without the vaccine.
No. And some people, some people see a headline like that. Indianapolis Colts head coach Frank Reich has COVID, tests positive for COVID-19, and he was vaccinated. Some people go, oh, see, he was vaccinated, he still got it. Yes, while that's true, as we discussed, Shannon, the big story is, if you are vaccinated, two things from what I understand from the science. Number one, a high probability that your symptoms will be significantly less than those who were not vaccinated. Certainly, we've talked about this as well. The overwhelming percentage, higher than 99% of COVID deaths this summer have been among people not vaccinated at all. So yes, you can still get COVID. The other thing that the science says, that if you are vaccinated, you are less likely to transmit it. While yes, you can still test positive for COVID, you can still get it. And yes, you can still spread it. Apparently, you are less likely to spread it if you are vaccinated. So all around, positives are there for those who get vaccinated. And certainly the NFL is trying to put that message out to its players.
And this obviously isn't a great start for the Colts, right? They're hoping to have a great season. They're in a division where they, I think, could easily win it, right? When you have the Texans, who are not expected to do much of anything. The Jaguars, a bit of an unknown with Trevor Lawrence and brand new head coach over in Urban, and they're looking to make a move with their brand new quarterback Carson Wentz, who is apparently rejuvenated and ready to go, and he's with former coaches. And this is not the way you want to start camp, but again, it's happening now and not in the middle of the season, not at the beginning of the season. So I think they'll be all right.
Yes, and I did mention this, shifting gears a little bit from football to football. Ted Lasso, the series that you recommended to me, Shannon, and I'm still in season 1. I like it. Season 2 dropped on Friday. We talked about it. Did you catch any Ted Lasso season 2 over the weekend?
I did watch the first episode. Yes, I did my homework. It is fantastic. Once again, I'm very excited for what's to come. Little unexpected, they brought in a new character that I think will be sticking around throughout the season, and she wasn't what I expected her to be from the series trailer. So I'm excited for it.
Now, apparently, somewhere in this second season, maybe in episode 1, I don't know if this will sound familiar to you, but apparently Ted Lasso in one of the episodes in season 2 expresses a fondness for television news anchor Diane Sawyer. Did you remember that from what you watched over the weekend?
Yeah, there's a reference. He's asked if he would like a drink. It's after a game, and he says, "What would I say if Diane Sawyer asked me out on a date? Heck yes," something along that line.
Well, and now we have an instance now of the nonfiction world, the reality world blending in with the fictional world. Apparently, the real Diane Sawyer tweeted to Ted Lasso to say that if a date happens, she's in. She would go on a date with Ted Lasso. And apparently, from the Ted Lasso Twitter account, Ted Lasso replied to the real Diane Sawyer and asked her if she likes biscuits. So apparently, maybe there will be a date between Ted Lasso, as played by Jason Sudeikis in the TV show on Apple TV Plus, and Diane Sawyer. And I guess if there is a date, Shannon, somehow biscuits will be involved.
It would be a great feature to have on that show, just a cameo, and also like given that his storyline, obviously a football coach coming to coach across the seas, and Diane Sawyer being a reporter. I mean, I could see that storyline happening, and he is a great. He knows how to make a good biscuit.
Well, and if you're Diane Sawyer, I mean, you're
that name in a while.
Well, exactly. I mean, it is so popular that Ted Lasso is so popular that it probably would make sense for her to go out and do this. It would probably be very, very cool for her.
She's and well that's a lie. I have seen her name recently, and it's not been in great light. So for her, this is fantastic news. Because she's getting dragged for an old like Britney Spears interview, where I guess there were some
really
questions taking place. Given what we know now about Britney's situation, so yeah, she needs to take this, run with it, accept it. Ted Lasso, probably the most lovable character on earth right now. Run with it. Run as far as you can.
Now, of course, one of Diane Sawyer's daughters is Rachel Nichols, who has been in the news as well. So, yeah,
they're related.
Oh, that's her mom. Diane Sawyer is Rachel Nichols' mom.
How did this get past me?
Well, let me. Okay, now let me double check this. Now I'm worried. Let me Wikipedia rate. My understanding is Mike Nichols, a stepdaughter-in-law of. Okay, Diane Sawyer married Mike Nichols, who is the father of Rachel Nichols. So Diane Sawyer, excuse me, is the stepmom of Rachel Nichols. So I misspoke, but there is that connection. So Diane Sawyer married the dad of Rachel Nichols. So there's that.
Are they still married?
I believe so. Let me.
So Ted Lasso is going to be a homewrecker.
He could be. Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
So if you're producing the show Ted Lasso, and she is married. Mike Nichols died in 2014. So he was married to her when he died. Okay. So thank God for Wikipedia to clear all this up. Mike Nichols, they got married in 1988. Diane Sawyer and Mike Nichols died in 2014. And Mike Nichols is the father of Rachel Nichols, but Diane Sawyer is not the mom.
Listen, I need a tree now.
Yeah.
Visual chart.
But so Ted Lasso would not be a homewrecker. However, according to Wikipedia, Diane Sawyer is now 75 years old. So I think she would be a little bit older than Mr. Ted Lasso. Little Mrs. Robinson going on there from The Graduate. So yeah, just saying. Woo! Now, again, though, if I'm producing Ted Lasso, I not only get Diane Sawyer, but I get her stepdaughter, Rachel Nichols, to go as a chaperone on that date to make sure that Ted Lasso behaves himself.
Now, a big theme for this first episode of season 2, and this isn't necessarily a spoiler, but the yips was a big theme. And Ted doesn't even want to say the word because he believes that saying the word, the superstition, just it makes it worse, right? It makes whatever the yip situation is worse to address it in such a fashion. Do you, sir, believe in the yips yourself when it comes to sports, or do you just have some good days and bad days, or good stretches and bad stretches?
I believe there are good days and bad days, although I do believe in sports superstitions. I do not necessarily believe in the yips, but I do believe in the Sports Illustrated jinx, in the Dallas Cowboys blue jersey jinx, and in the Tony Romo jinx. If Tony Romo shows up for your team's game, that could be a. Now, Jason is saying Ben Simmons has the yips.
I think also all of Team USA right now for basketball.
Yikes.
I might be having the yips after that fourth quarter against France. But we'll see tonight, Chris, if I can stay up and man. I mean, we talked about earlier joking about pulling all-nighters during the Olympics. Team USA plays tonight against Iran.
11:40, right? Isn't it 11:40 tonight?
11:40. I'm not sure if that's Eastern time or Central time.
I think it's Central, because I think Eastern was 12:40 Wednesday morning.
But
so
again,
I think
it's one of those situations like, do you stay up and watch that and then go to bed angry?
yes. That's what we're not going to lose to Iran. We can't lose to Iran.
Better not, but even still, like, if it's not a good performance, if it doesn't look good, if those shots aren't going in, if they aren't hitting free throws, if they are all fouling out again, if they have more fouls than they do points or shot attempts, like we saw, there will still be much to discuss.
True.
In a not so positive light in regards to Team USA.
Yeah. At this point, though, I will take any win against Iran. I hope we win by 30, but I'll take a 1-point win as long as they get out with a win. You could take $1,000 right now. It's a little after 7:20, but we strive to do this contest at 6:20 and 7:20 and throughout the day, 12 times on the 20s. So your chance to win $1,000 comes often on the 20s, and it's coming right now. You're going to get a keyword and a place to text that keyword. You do that, and you are in the running for $1,000. Here it is.
Your chance to win $1,000. Text the nationwide keyword cash to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's cash to 200-200.
The keyword is cash. Good luck. And again, throughout the day on the 20s, multiple chances to win. Shannon, diving back into a conversation for a moment on Team USA men's basketball. Of course, some of the reporting after the loss to France on Sunday is an unnamed player, according to a reporter on Team USA, is saying that the team is disgruntled because Coach Greg Popovich is running the San Antonio offense. Now, I love that we don't have a player who put a name on that, which makes me doubt the report a little bit. Secondly, apparently, one reporter reported on this, and then, of course, all kinds of other reporters and bloggers. So now it apparently is a foregone conclusion, and apparently it is a fact now that all of Team USA is down on Coach Greg Popovich for running the San Antonio Spurs offense. I don't necessarily agree with this, but that's the reporting that's out there right now.
I obviously don't watch the Spurs. They're not my team, so I don't make it a point to watch the Spurs. But you, sir,
how dare you?
Who's very connected. Are they running that? Is that what he's doing?
I don't see it specifically. It looks to me that, and I've read this, that Pop, because they're such new personnel, is that they're not running specifically designed plays, but they're running concepts. It's like our goal is to get the ball into this player in here, and however you guys using your ability, and you're all superstars. So there's certain concepts, like we'd like a baseline jumper here. We'd like a 3-point shot on this play. We'd like to get it inside. So my understanding, based on reporting and based on what I've watched, is it's kind of a conceptual offense, which, if you think about it, makes sense for a team that has just come together, as opposed to, hey, let's learn these plays and all call play number 2 right now, and let's run play number 2. I think at this point, one of your best ways is to be more conceptual than specific with a brand new basketball team playing in Olympic competition against teams that have been together for a long time.
Well, and just in watching that France game, and I heard them say this on the broadcast too, not only to go along with these teams that play together more regularly throughout the year and as a unit, they, the US, the NBA in general has moved to guard heavy 3-point shots, passing to we're not playing inside out nearly as much less, more guard heavy, basically, right? And then you have France, who is like every man looks like a big man on that team, and I think that's a huge difference too. I mean, they were getting the ball inside, and the U.S. was settling for those outside shots. And I just think it's a lot of adjustments, and I think everyone's playing the blame game right now. Pop is an easy target because even though the roster itself looks completely different from years past, he is the head of said roster, and he is also a huge difference. And that Coach K has been known to be Mr. Team USA basketball, and I think it's easier to push the blame onto Pop. And I'm not saying he is not worthy of some of it, because I do, because he does have some responsibility as the head coach of Team USA. But is he, like you said, he ain't the one taking the shots, missing the shots,
Yeah.
taking the fouls, or not playing defense. So I'm
Well,
with you on that.
Yeah, and a glaring statistic, we talked about it yesterday from that loss to France, was 36% from the field is what Team USA shot, and they were outscored in the third quarter 24-11. You got to score more than 11 points in a given quarter, in that case the third quarter. And you're right. I mean, Pop, obviously, the buck stops here. He's the head coach. He's responsible, and I'm sure he will take blame and is taking blame, and I'm sure he's angry at the team's performance and his performance, not finding a way to beat France. But tonight, obviously, Team USA should be a heavy favorite against Iran, and then hopefully get the win tonight, and then it's on to the Czech Republic. You win that one, and Czech Republic did open with a win against Iran. So of the two remaining teams in group play for Team USA, Iran and the Czech Republic, the second one, the final one, the Czech Republic, should be the most difficult. But do what you need to do tonight, and let's get a win against Iran. Coming up, it is time for Shannon's Salty Shakedown. We'll also bring you this day in sports history, sports birthdays. We'll dive into more NFL coverage, including the Dallas Cowboys. Houston Astros lose last night, but they have been winning of late. They're just one game now back of the Boston Red Sox for the best record in the American League, and they're just 2 games back of San Francisco, the Giants, in the National League. Giants have the best record in Major League Baseball, so you can't win them all. The Astros can drop a game here or there. They lose last night in Seattle. We'll talk a little Major League Baseball, Astros, as well as NFL. We'll keep an eye on the Olympics. If you're just joining us, a big breaking story out of Tokyo this morning happened while we're on the air this morning. Simone Biles pulling out of the team Olympic gymnastics competition. We'll bring you updates from Tokyo on Simone Biles and the gymnastics team as well. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. Jeremy Fouts is your soundscape stylist. I'm Chris. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Woo! Woo! Thank you, Louisa. I agree with you. Pop isn't missing those baskets. Welcome back. Chris Duel Show. Jeremy Fouts is your soundscape stylist, playing the snappy tunes for you on this Olympic Taco Tuesday as we continue to follow the breaking story this morning. Simone Biles pulling out of the Olympics team competition for Team USA in gymnastics. Keeping an eye on that story. It happened about an hour ago. We've been talking about it and getting more information from Tokyo. We will continue to do so and react with you. We're all over everything going on today in the world of sports, including the Olympics, NFL football, and training camps. Of course, Major League Baseball, the Houston Astros. We will dive more into college football and the SEC and the continuing evolving story involving the Texas Longhorns and the Oklahoma Sooners and their apparent move to the SEC. In fact, it is our poll question this morning. Of course, the contracts for Team USA and for the Texas Longhorns, who are Team USA, if you think about it in college football, for the Texas Longhorns and the Oklahoma Sooners, with the Big 12 lasting until 2025. But Shannon, not everybody expecting the Longhorns and the Sooners to hang out that long in the Big 12. And that's part of what we are asking people in our poll question this morning.
Right. And it's kind of like, why would you? Very kind of similar to this Aaron Rodgers situation, right? Where he's signed for longer, but he's really only locked in for this 1 year. And why would you stick around if tensions are high and you know that you don't expect to stay with the other party that you are currently aligned with? So we are asking over on Ticket 760's Twitter page, as well as AM 1300 The Zone, what year do you think Texas and Oklahoma will begin to play in the SEC? 2022 currently leading the way with 45% of the votes, 2023 with 43%, 9% saying 2024 or later, and 2% saying never, deal will fail. Hearing a lot of rumblings that yesterday was just the tip of the iceberg, that a lot more details will be coming out, and I'm almost positive that one of those will be that there will be a done deal.
Yeah. And it's so funny. And I also believe it. And I voted 2022, which I think is very optimistic, but I am on this. I just think Texas wants to go. Oklahoma wants to go. The SEC wants them, other than A&M wanting them. And, you know, for the Big 12, Big 12 is going to have to move on. And it's almost like if you're in a bad relationship, Shannon, and you know it's over, and your significant other knows it's over, you know, why are you going to stick around? It's probably better for both of you that you move on. Now, obviously, there's money involved, and there's big money involved, but I loved what Coach A, Paul Alexander, said to us on Friday of last week, is that, you know, Texas and OU could probably find those millions of dollars that they might be penalized from. I'm watching some Simone Biles updates here. Okay. We'll get back into that. I just saw an update on the television screen that we'll get to. But Paul Alexander said Texas and Oklahoma could probably find those many millions of dollars underneath the seat cushions of their sofa. They've got so much money involved in both programs. So we shall see how that plays out, and we'll keep an eye on it. This Simone Biles story continues to be huge. We'll get more into that here coming up in a moment. Now, there is some reporting that it is not injury related, this Simone Biles withdrawal, that the withdrawal was not injury related. If that's the case, Shannon, that's going to be fascinating. If something happened and she just said, you know what, I'm out, I'm tapping out here without an injury. Again, we don't know that. I'm watching on the television screen from the San Antonio affiliate Fox 29, a Fox affiliate doing their morning news. So we will continue to keep an eye on that story for you. However, before we do any of that, we will bring you the Salty Shakedown, sports birthdays, and we'll start with this day, July 27th, in sports history. 1986, on this day, the Tour de France, or as they say over there, the Tour de France, was won by an American, not Lance Armstrong, Greg LeMond. No steroids were used, reportedly. I don't think Greg LeMond has ever been busted. He won the 73rd Tour de France on this day in 1986. On this day in 1992, the Houston Astros began a 26-game road trip. Why? Because the Republican National Convention was being held at the Astrodome where they played baseball. And that Republican National Convention would nominate the current president at the time, George Herbert Walker Bush, who later that fall would run against William Jefferson Clinton. And you know how that turned out. This was a big day in the Olympics. Some bad news, not the kind of day you want to have in the Olympics. On this day in 1996, Atlanta, Georgia, the Olympics at Atlanta Olympic Park, there was a bomb that exploded. It killed 1, it injured 110. And as you may know, Richard Jewell, a security guard, was accused of being involved in that bombing. He was later exonerated, but not before his name was dragged through the mud by national and global media. And finally, on this day in 1999, Tony Hawk became the first skateboarder to land a 900. Shannon, I don't know what a 900 is, but I'm sure that Tony Hawk was totally stoked, dude, to land it. Do you know what a 900 is in skateboarding? We should know now that it's an Olympic sport.
I should know because I play his video game religiously, but
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you.
I couldn't tell you either.
Probably a flip of some sort, I would think.
Yeah, it's apparently a big deal. It was his first ever 900. And that Tony Hawk dude is pretty good from what they tell me. That's your sports history. How about some sports birthdays? Born on this day in 1906, Baseball Hall of Famer Leo DeRocher. He was known as Leo the Lip because he would often argue with umpires. He was a Major League All-Star in 1936, 38, and 40, World Series champion with the Yankees and the St. Louis Cardinals in 1928 and 1934. He would manage the New York Giants and the LA Dodgers in the World Series in 1954 and 1963. Leo DeRocher, born in West Springfield, Massachusetts. He died in 1991. Born on this day in 1939, American football cornerback Irv Cross. Irv Cross played for the Eagles, made the Pro Bowl in 64 and 65, but became known as a broadcaster on the panel of the NFL Today with Brent Musburger, Jimmy the Greek Snyder, and Phyllis George back in the 1970s. Irv Cross was born on this day in 1939 in Hammond, Indiana. He died earlier this year. Born on this day in 1948, American Olympic gold medalist figure skater. She won gold in 1968. Peggy Fleming, born in San Jose, California. Born on this day in 1961, LSU head football coach Ed Orgeron, born in LaRose, Louisiana. I've been working on my Ed Orgeron impression. Ed Orgeron, football. I'm working on that.
You got to do this.
You
got to end it with the signature. Go Tigers.
Football. Go Tigers.
There you go.
There's my Ed. I'm working on it. I'm still.
I had my eyes closed. I wouldn't know.
Still trying to get the kinks out, but I'm working on my Ed Orgeron. Someday you'll not know, and we'll have him on the show, and I'll introduce. He'll be very excited to be on the show, Ed Orgeron. Born on this day in 1975, A-Rod, baby. American League, Major League Baseball shortstop, 14-time All-Star, Alex Rodriguez. I did not know this, appropriately born in New York City on this day in 1975. But finally, Shannon, I'm saving the best for last. Born on this day in 1993 in Dallas, Texas, golfer, your boy, won the Masters and the U.S. Open in 2015, won the British Open in 2017. Happy birthday, Jordan Spieth. Jordan Spieth, born on this day in 1993. Those are your sports birthdays and your Ed Orgeron impersonation and your sports history. Time, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, for your Taco Tuesday salty shakedown.
Chris, we're going to start in the Olympics this morning because why wouldn't we? We only get these events once every 2 years if you are looking forward to both the winter and summer, and then once every 4 years for these summer games that we are currently in right now. And there are a ton of stories coming out of the Olympics, and we don't just love the Team USA stories, although we do put them in high regard.
We prefer them, but we don't. Yeah,
we're kind of fans over here. But a huge story for the Philippines. Hidilyn Diaz won weightlifting gold.
Woo!
For the Philippines. Not only was it the first gold medal to be won in Philippines history, it was won by a woman. Hey now. But this is a fantastic story because actually in 2019, she was accused of being part of a group that was supposedly trying to overthrow the president at the time.
Wow.
And there were so many people were coming after her. She was receiving death threats. It was not looking good. She was also a prominent weightlifter already at the time. I believe she won silver in 2016. So it was not a good time for her. And now, after winning the very first gold medal for her country ever, those people that once were accusing her of doing such wrongful things, one of them being someone who actually worked for the government at the time, have been congratulating her, saying it serves as an inspiration to all Filipino athletes that getting gold in the Olympics is no longer a dream, but a reality. Congratulations. So that's awesome. But what's even more awesome is that if you win gold for that country, government, along with some businessmen, they have this tied together. It's a rule that you win what equates to $660,000, a house, as well as a luxury condo worth $280,000, Chris.
Wow.
Now, because, again, this is the first gold medal ever for this country. We'll have to make sure that they come through with this agreement, because this will be the first time they would ever have to, dish it out. But how great is that? I mean, not only is it life-changing because she is now a sports icon for that country, winning gold, but she gets to go home. She gets to go home to one of her 2 new homes.
Wow.
Along with a good chunk of change. So congrats to her and her family, because I think all of their lives have changed since that weightlifting moment. I don't know how much she lifted. It looked painful. Especially deadlifts. I have an awful back. I've never been able to do them without causing harm to myself, so I just don't. But it's incredible, from death threats in 2019 to being praised as an icon for her country, and I think rightfully so. All right, Chris, you're on the TikToks. I know you don't post, but you do scroll. You're on the Instagrams. You post there.
Yes.
You've had to have seen some of Tom Brady's latest videos. They seem to get crazier and crazier. From a couple weeks ago, him sitting on a beach, throwing a football that then shatters the moon, to his most recent video, which the internet, of course, immediately went after to say, oh, it's CGI, it's Photoshop. And you know what? It probably is, but it doesn't mean that people aren't hyping him up for it. Chris, in this newest video, Tom Brady is playing catch with a jugs machine. For those that don't know, that's basically it's a like a robot wide receiver. Someone puts the ball in and it spits it out, and it can spit it out at a pretty quick and high velocity. A lot of receivers like to stand up close to try and work on their grips and their grasp of that ball when it comes in so hot. And in this video, Tom Brady has the football, throws it to the jugs machine. It catches it perfectly, then spits it back out to him. He catches it. He takes a step back. He does it again. He does this 3 times. It is edited, Chris. Even the video maker said some will say it's CGI, but it still is pretty incredible, because even if it's a video that was stitched together, at one point he did have to throw the ball in there or catch it.
Yeah.
Tom Brady isn't known for his hands, right? He didn't perform in Nick Foles. He didn't perform the Philly special in the Super Bowl. He's not on the receiving end of a lot of touchdowns. He's a quarterback. Your thoughts on Tom Brady? I mean, he's really stepped up his social media game this off season here, but he's really taken it to a new level. Is it annoying at this point?
I'm still entertained by him. I know you I think you find him a little annoying, but yeah, and you're right. I agree. He's stepped up his social media game. He's entertaining us. Apparently this is part of his master plan. I mean, maybe to get a wider and a younger audience that he can tap into post football to sell them TB12 products. I don't know, but I'm cool with it. I'm still enjoying his videos, and they are very inventive and very clever. So to me, they're still entertaining.
The thing I find, because I do enjoy this Tom Brady version we're getting right now, the thing I find annoying about it is, like, for the likes of TikToks, they have so many filters and cool things that you can add to your videos just within the app. And so it's normal people who make these fun videos just in their spare time, and then they blow up and people love them and it's great. And then you get guys like Tom Brady who bring in their entire production crew and do all of this outside of the TikTok and then throw it on there to say, look what I did. And you're like, well, that's a bit of an unfair advantage, Mr. 7-time Super Bowl winner. But okay, I guess we'll like the video. All right, finally, Chris, and we've got a little bit of time here. The Cleveland Guardians or formerly the Cleveland Indians, about to be the Cleveland Guardians come the end of this season. Turns out they're not the only Guardians in town, sir. There's already a Cleveland Guardians team. They are a roller derby team. There is no word yet on if they've had conversations behind the scenes or whether or not the Cleveland Indians, soon to be the Cleveland Guardians, knew that this team existed. But a lot of people are now making comments that maybe the Cleveland Guardians roller derby team should come after the MLB. Do you think the MLB has a problem on their hands, or will they just pay for this to go away?
They will probably pay for it to go away, but that's a fascinating story. And I wonder how long this Cleveland Guardians roller derby team has existed. And I mean,
2004.
Okay. My goodness. Well, somebody with the Cleveland Indians did not do their due diligence here. So, but I got a feeling, I mean, the train has already left the station. So Nothing that $1 million or two won't buy away, I would think.
Yeah, the Derby at Facebook page has received hundreds of comments, a lot of it being advice of how they could go after the MLB if they wanted to. People asking if they've already trademarked it, or if they didn't, and now what if they have to change their name? Lots of potential issues here, so it might be interesting if the MLB and Cleveland decide, okay, we got to pick another name.
Wow.
What that might look like. But I did think it was one of the more interesting and kind of silly stories out there today. There you have it, today's Salty Shakedown.
Excellent Salty Shakedown, and certainly something to keep an eye on. Did that Cleveland Guardians roller derby team trademark the name? Might we wind up in court? Lots coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, including the continuing story that is developing of Simone Biles pulling out of the team gymnastics competition in the Olympics. Don't go anywhere. It's the Chris Duel Show. Yeah, John Williams, during the break, I'm editing audio. That's why you can't hear me during the break. So you'll hear me coming up here in a moment as soon as I'm done editing audio. Okay, now these. So I want to keep those. A, B, C. A. Okay, that's good. David Garcia, that's not good. Japan leading Team USA 2-0, middle of the 7th inning. We don't like that. Here we go.
This is the Chris Duel Show.
Fred Robert Casares Jr., welcome.
Now, Chris Duel.
On a Taco Tuesday, on an Olympic Tuesday, on the final Tuesday of July in the year 2021, it's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. As this morning, a big story from the Olympics that developed while we were on the air, while we are on the air this morning. Simone Biles withdrawing from the team competition at the Olympic Games in Tokyo, and Team USA takes the silver in the team competition after Simone Biles withdraws. The official statement from Team USA Gymnastics reads, quote, Simone Biles has withdrawn from the team final competition due to a medical issue. She will be assessed daily to determine medical clearance for future competitions, end quote. And on USA Gymnastics official Twitter page, they add, thinking of you, Simone. Clearly, Shannon, and there's some dispute as to what the issue is for Simone Biles. And, you know, you even brought this up earlier. We're already seeing some of the requisite haters on Twitter and on social media coming out saying awful things. But that being put aside as it should, because those people are ridiculous. Nonetheless, this is a big story and a big development. And certainly Team USA would have wanted the gold. And maybe you believe perhaps that if Simone Biles would have been at full strength and could have fully competed in the team competition for Team USA, they would have taken the gold instead of the silver as they did minutes ago in Tokyo.
I think that's certainly the expectation. But if we're being completely honest, to me, like, Team USA is a lot like Texas and Texas fans. We expect to be number one at everything all the time, no matter what happened in the past, no matter what might happen in the future. We come in there, we are Team USA, and we should win everything all the time. And obviously in the gymnastics portion and the female side, they have a great track record, but things happen. And again, like, competition continues to grow throughout the world in all of these sports, and it's part of what makes the Olympics so fun. The team still medals, which is nothing to be, I mean, silver in the Olympics, in that what's arguably like the biggest competition in the world, like, that is not something to pout about. You took care of business. You medaled. So congratulations to them. The Simone Biles thing is super sad. Not just the face of that team, but the face of Team USA and arguably the Olympics as a whole. So I'm sure we'll hear from her when she's ready. And who knows at this point if she will continue to compete individually. I hope she will, just because she's incredible to watch. And she's a talent unlike anything we've ever seen, and who knows when we might see her next, or if we'll see her again after this Olympics. Yeah,
and as you mentioned earlier, at age 24, which for most of us, 24 is really young, but for a gymnast, 24 is surprisingly, to some of us who are maybe not gymnasts, 24 is advanced in age, because so many of them are 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds. So hopefully Simone Biles, again, the official statement said she will be assessed daily now to determine medical clearance for future competitions. Hopefully she'll be okay, and hopefully we'll see more of her in these Olympics. But a huge development today, certainly, and a sad development personally for her as well. So that's too bad. Shifting to the NFL, did you hear the quote from Gardner Minshew, Shannon, about how he does not want to be number 2 in the competition to Trevor Lawrence. This was kind of an interesting quote from him.
I didn't see the quote in full. I did see something about him not wanting to be number 2. So I
Yeah.
asked, is he okay with being number 3? Is that where we are? Is that what the rules are? Or is he asking to be traded?
Apparently, he went on to a podcast and to see if I see the name of this podcast here. I thought I had it. Yeah, in a recent podcast to demonstrate and to affirm that he does not want to be number 2 in the competition to number 1 overall draft pick Trevor Lawrence for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He said, quote, in preparation for the competition, I haven't taken a poop in weeks because number 2 isn't an option for me. Number 2 is not an option. You gotta appreciate his flair for comedy there.
He's an interesting fella and a guy who I think made the most of his 15 minutes of fame, right?
Yeah.
They bring in Nick Foles, they pay him all this money, he gets an awful injury. Gardner Minshew goes in, doesn't really do much on the field, but he's got that mustache, he's got some character, he's got a little bit of flash. They make the t-shirts. He does all of that. Then he goes into the off season and does this like camper road trip, and people get really interested in that. And he's kind of was a placeholder last year. Let's be honest. I mean, tanking for Trevor. Now they probably thought the Jets were a shoe-in to get him, but lo and behold, the Jaguars end up with him. I think he's smart enough to know that he isn't going to be number 1, and he might not be number 2 for long.
Well, and what a ride it's been for Gardner Minshew. I mean, you look back at his college career. He was a backup quarterback for Alabama that was not going to get off the bench. So with a year of eligibility left, he goes to Washington State, which had the Pirate at the time as their head coach, Mike Leach. So Mike Leach puts him into that high octane, red gun offense that Mike Leach runs, and Gardner Minshew just racked up the yardage, racked up the completions, racked up the touchdowns. And there were some who thought, well, that's probably not going to translate to the NFL, but yes, it did. We all know there was Minshew mania early on in the NFL and for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And yes, now, Trevor Lawrence certainly expected and will get the number 1 quarterbacking position for Jacksonville. But, Gardner Minshew, we talked about Colt McCoy earlier in the show and his ownership of a Duncan franchise in the Austin area. Colt McCoy has made a great living for himself in the NFL over these years as a backup quarterback. And while I'm sure Gardner Minshew probably still sees himself, you've got to have a level of self-confidence, and probably still sees himself as a starting quarterback in the NFL because he's had a taste of it. But Gardner Minshew could be I'd rather, as a Cowboy fan, I'd rather have Gardner Minshew as my backup than, Cooper Rush or Garrett Gilbert or what's Ben DiNucci, that guy. So I think we'll still continue to hear from Gardner Minshew as a backup, starting with the Jacksonville Jaguars, but he might bounce around the NFL a little bit now.
I will continue to say that the backup quarterback position is the best job to get in the NFL.
Yes.
Especially if you don't have to play, because your body stays healthy. You still make a buttload of money. And if you manage your money well on the side, that will grow exponentially. And, like I said, your body isn't put on the line time and time again. And then when it comes, you just mentioned, for the Cowboys, the thing I like about Garrett Gilbert is he has experience. He's really not that bad when he gets in. I think last year was a little off. It was a completely new system for everybody, but he wasn't really the backup. He wasn't even really third at the time in line, but just the craziness that was everything that went on for the quarterback position within Dallas last year. He kind of got thrown to the wolves. And for what he had to work with, he did an okay job. And so I think after another year in the system, I think he will be a solid backup, and he is cheap. And a guy like Gardner Minshew is going to demand some dollar bills, given what he did for Jacksonville and just given the name and what a name like that comes with. So I wouldn't necessarily advocate for him to come to Dallas.
Yeah,
I hate it, but I'm not pushing. I'm not putting pen to paper on that one.
Yeah, I just hope that the Cowboys, backup quarterback is such an important position in the NFL, and now that the NFL season has added a game in the regular season, we go from 16 games to 17 games, to whatever percentage you want to put it, the odds of your quarterback making it a full 17 game regular season without injury are long, and you've got to have a good backup. And certainly if you want to make the playoffs and if your quarterback goes out for any amount of time, you want to have a good backup there. And, I hope you're right. I would think of the three who are now in camp for the Cowboys, Ben DiNucci, Cooper Rush, and Garrett Gilbert. I agree with you. I think Garrett Gilbert is your best option. Certainly looked good in the XFL. And, I just hope that he's capable of doing the job. If, we all assume now Dak Prescott's back. That one season that he was out with injury, thank goodness that's over. Now we'll move forward, and everybody expects to have a full year of Dak and a full next 10 years of Dak Prescott. And while I certainly hope and pray that's the case, history dictates and history suggests that you really need a good backup quarterback to make it through an NFL season. So hopefully the Cowboys are smart in what they do at backup quarterback.
Well, and you, sir, are heading to Canton for all of the Hall of Fame festivities. And
woo!
One of the highlights will certainly be the first preseason game of the year between the Cowboys and the Steelers. I don't think we'll see any of Dak in preseason other than this game, and it'll be more of a pomp and circumstance kind of deal. Look, here he is. Here's Big Ben. Here we are. It's the big event to kick off the season. Okay, we're done here.
Yeah.
So you, sir, will get to firsthand witness what we are working with.
Yes.
As far as the rest of our quarterbacks are concerned and their comfort level. Even reading today, University of Texas alum, Mr. Connor Williams, who has been a part of that Cowboys offensive line for a couple of years now. I believe he's been at left guard, I think, for, that's been his main spot. He's shuffled from time to time. He's not the most consistent, but he is getting some work in at center, because as we, again, saw your backups need to be ready to go. And when you're playing offensive line specifically, you need to be able to be moldable and be put in different positions. Because the guy coming in for someone who went out, he may be better at your spot than he is at the spot for the guy who's out. So you may need to be shifting over. So I thought it was interesting. Connor Williams getting some snaps at center. You could potentially see him. So you may even get some Connor Williams to Garrett Gilbert, two former Texas guys.
Yeah.
Playing very closely together in that preseason game to kick things off.
Of course, the Cowboys starting center expected to be, he was a rookie last year, Tyler Biadasz, who played very, very well last year. But as we know, and I think in addition to the defense, Shannon, which is a big question mark, they were a historically bad defense a year ago. That offensive line, and specifically your tackles, Tyron Smith at left tackle and Lael Collins at right tackle, their injury issues, and certainly Tyron Smith, who has not been able to play a full 16 games because of injury for a number of seasons now, going to be very, very interesting. And I think the hopes of the Cowboys, I think certainly offensively, hinge on that offensive line. And, kind of what we've talked about a lot and what we're hoping for is that the offense will be able to put up 28, 30, 32 points per game. And that if the defense can just be average or adequate, and if the defense can hold opponents somewhere in the mid to low 20s, then the Cowboys should be able to win 11, 12 football games in a 17-game season, and hopefully win the NFC East. I know a lot of people are talking about the Washington football team and how good the defense is on that Washington football team. And, Ryan Fitzmagic now at quarterback for Washington, but hopefully the Cowboys will be up to the task, certainly offensively, and new defensive coordinator Dan Quinn will hopefully be able to shake that defense up and get it back to where it's at least respectable.
Yeah. You mentioned winning the NFC East. which means you get a playoff shot, and then you've got to go win the NFC. With the announcement of Aaron Rodgers staying in Green Bay for at least one more year, do you see him taking that team all the way to the NFC Championship?
As you know, he has each of the previous 2 years. I wonder, and we talked about this earlier, Shannon, with Aaron Rodgers, now that we know the reports yesterday coming back for one more season with the Green Bay Packers, we both believe he's going to still be an agitator, still be a little disgruntled. And when you have that distraction in the locker room, and I mean, he's going to be a distraction when other players are interviewed. It's like, hey, how do you feel about Aaron? What's the mood with Aaron? What's going on with Aaron Rodgers? Now, obviously, a year ago, he was not happy, and they still go to the NFC Championship game. And certainly, I mean, they led late in that game against Tampa Bay. They certainly had their opportunities, and a lot of people believe that if Aaron Rodgers would have had the ball in his hands with a chance to win that game instead of the field goal attempt, that maybe he leads them to last year's Super Bowl. Can this team go for a third year in a row to the NFC Championship game? Will remain to be seen. Certainly, they're going to be one of the favorites. You've got, obviously, Tampa Bay will be the favorite, but you look at the best quarterbacks in the NFC right now, and right now I think you got to go 1-2 are Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Certainly, as Cowboys fans, we want to see Dak Prescott in that equation.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's going to be very fascinating to see how they play with him this year.
Yeah, it's going to be rough out there with Aaron Rodgers officially returning. And I mentioned to you yesterday that there was a gentleman who came out with a song, a plea for Aaron Rodgers to return to the Packers. I did cut a small clip of that for you because it is genius. And I have to think now it's the reason why Aaron Rodgers took that private jet to touchdown in Green Bay late last night. Media members were there just to watch him get off a jet and get into a car. That's not creepy at all, but I've got to think that this song had something to do with it.
Back Aaron, think about the vibes, and you could win a Super Bowl in front of your fiance. Maybe up on ESPN talking about it all day. Got me in the office, crying in the hallway. Come back, Aaron. Green Bay needs you. All of us at Lambeau, freezing in the bleachers. Please don't leave us with a broken heart. I could never let him compare to Brett Favre. Come back, Aaron. Come back.
I mean, that's pretty good, right?
Very catchy. Yes.
I mean, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I would, the pregame warm-ups with giant headphones. That's what I came back, and I'm going to win a Super Bowl in front of my fiance and do all of those things. Devontae Adams, not be compared to Brett Favre, and go on ESPN and be the man.
Now, one of those lyrics is win that Super Bowl in front of your fiance. You've got to wonder if maybe, part of Aaron Rodgers' desire to get out of Green Bay is tied to the fiance. I mean, if she's, a Southern California woman, does she want to hang out in frigid Green Bay, Wisconsin?
I mean, he's a California guy. And
yeah,
as just my personal preference, if I had the choice or had a say, or was asked for my 2 cents, I would say anywhere but Green Bay or Buffalo would probably work for me. At least the Vikings play inside, right?
Yeah, true.
But yeah, I would get to, and honestly, like, I thought the Rams may have been a good spot for Aaron Rodgers, but after they do the trade for Goff and Matthew Stafford, that window closed for at least this year. Right. So I don't know. I think some of that probably had a little bit to do with it. I don't know. Truthfully, I think the song really, he heard it this week and he was like, okay, they need me. The fans need me. Forget the organization. The fans in Green Bay need me because they're freezing in the bleachers, Chris. He said it.
Yeah, I got to believe, we've talked about it and you said it, Shannon. Aaron Rodgers has a long memory. Aaron Rodgers holds a grudge. He's not forgiving. And I really think this final season that he is coming back for, kind of because he really didn't have choice in the matter. As it turned out over the summer, as it progressed, the Green Bay Packers seemed to have more of the cards than Aaron Rodgers did in this dispute. So I just think, and clearly he has indicated he's not happy with the general manager or with the president, Mark Murphy. The fact that they went for Jordan Love in the draft and traded up for him 2 years ago to get him, I just think that he's going to make life off the field miserable for them. I think obviously he's going to try to prove a point and go as far as the Packers can take him this year. But I just think that come interview time, anytime he's interviewed, I think he's going to make it quite clear that he's not a happy camper.
Does he? I mean, we have all these conversations this year about folks not wanting to be interviewed for their mental health. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I don't think that's what you cite. But I mean, why would you put yourself through that? I mean, I think he needs to just go straight beast mode and just, I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Yeah,
Because
but
the questions, as we said, they're gonna come at you nonstop.
Mhm.
And it's gonna be the same week in and week out. So I think if you start that way by saying, no comment, I'm not gonna whatever, eventually they'll talk about something else.
True, but we now have the Aaron Rodgers who wants to be the host of Jeopardy. Clearly, I think he wants to create a persona and a media career somehow for himself beyond football. So while it would be interesting for him to go beast mode and just not comment, I think he is probably seeking out the microphones now more than he did before. It's going to be interesting no matter what. Coming up, we will talk more NFL football. We will keep an eye on the Olympics. If you're just joining us, the big story this morning happened while we were on the air. Simone Biles pulls out of the team gymnastics competition. And as a result, subsequent to that, Team USA took silver, did not take gold. And the official statement from USA Gymnastics is that Simone Biles withdrew due to a medical issue and will be assessed daily to determine medical clearance for future competitions. We'll continue to keep an eye on that story, see if we get any late breaking developments on that from Tokyo. All the other developments from Tokyo, we've got an updated medal count from you. We'll get to that as well. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney, your soundscape stylist, Jeremy Fouts. We're with you till 9. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Chris Duel Show. Oh! John Williams, I will go pancakes on that. Pancakes over waffles, although waffles are good. I like waffles too. Fred Robert Casares Jr. How about French toast with peanut in between with powdered sugar and maple syrup? My God. That sounds like something Elvis would have. So SEC schools could vote today on Texas and OU. I can't imagine, other than maybe A&M, which makes them look a little pathetic. Here we go. Welcome back. Little Beatles for you. Come together, which is what the SEC is going to do. Thanks to Jeremy Founts, our soundscape stylist, all week long, doing a great job. Much appreciated. Shannon Salty, Sweeney, and Chris Duel with you. And reports, Shannon, the SEC will come together. There will be a meeting on Thursday. It is being reported. SEC presidents and chancellors have scheduled a meeting on Thursday, but there's some reporting that there might even be a vote taken as early as today among SEC teams as to, because, we've talked about this and it is moving quickly. Texas and Oklahoma making the move to the SEC, and on multiple fronts, things seem to be moving quickly. So it seems like each day there's new updates on this story, and we may see some votes today. And I don't see, other than A&M, because it's not in their interest in the state of Texas, other than A&M voting against this, I mean, it makes total sense for all SEC schools, in my opinion, unless you were just, unless you're not Alabama, you're not LSU, and you're not Georgia, and you're like one of the lesser schools like a Mississippi State, and you're somehow intimidated by the brands of Texas and OU, but still, a high tide raises all the ships, and I think the higher you raise the bar among competition and among brands in the SEC, I think that's good for everybody in the SEC.
Well, let's talk about brands, because a lot of people we're only talking about it from the side of, Texas and OU are they're looking for more money. They want to join the SEC because look at all the money that is over there. Hello, them joining means that there will be home games at your facilities for all sports with these giant brands, not just in football, but in all the other athletics, where there will be tickets sold. And the same goes for folks who sit at DKR. I mean, when LSU came to town, we had the opportunity to buy extra tickets. My folks were going to use them. They decided not to. It was going to be too hot. So I flipped them and made double on what I purchased them for.
Wow.
These brands that are now going to be coming to DKR year in and year out are going to be huge for all the arenas. And the same goes for Texas heading to wherever they play that season. And the same goes for OU for wherever they go play. I mean, these big brands now coming in to clash with these other titans of their sports are huge for everybody. Everyone is winning, including the fans. I mean, you think of I have not ever been excited about, who's coming to DKR this weekend? Oh, Kansas State. Yeah,
Yeah.
really looking forward to that one. They use a dual quarterback system. It's pretty exciting stuff to watch. No, never. So I'm excited for that alone. And yeah, it may take some time for Texas to adjust, whatever. We may get lashings throughout the social media world, but the vibe of those arenas and those venues and those stadiums are going to be unlike anything I think Texas fans have experienced before. And I'm excited for Texas fans who travel very well.
Yeah.
And generally, I have not heard stories of them misbehaving. I'm excited for them to get to go and experience these new locations and for those fans of the opposing teams to come in contact with the great fan base that I know Texas is.
Well, and you brought up LSU, and you think about it, you look at LSU's proximity to Texas and to Oklahoma. That should be just, as the years progress, just talk about a regional rivalry. Obviously, LSU has its rivalry with Alabama, has its rivalry with Georgia. But I mean, you just look at the three states that connect to one another, Texas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana. That should be just a tremendous regional rivalry. And you would imagine not only will Texas and Oklahoma people travel to LSU if they can get tickets, which each fan base makes it hard to get into their stadiums because tickets sell so much. But same thing. I mean, you would expect a big LSU contingent to show up in Austin or in Norman as those games, as you point out, not just football, but everything. Volleyball, baseball, basketball, every sport. Having these brands go against each other is a big, big deal.
And OU, Texas OU playing together in Dallas each and every year with the fair going on. The fan bases are split at the 50-yard line. There's no atmosphere like it. It's arguably one of the best sporting events in the world, year in and year out. You can't change my mind about it. But because it's played in Dallas, you don't get that rivalry action in your home every other year.
Yeah.
And again, that goes back to like the Kansas State thing, the Tech isn't really, I mean, I like the band more when they come more than the team, and I'm not trying to like put down those schools, but when you think of it as a brand and national coverage and excitement and make your money back on some tickets and all of the things that will come along with it, it's huge because now you are going to get those exciting games. It's not a lot of people I think have been having more fun at the tailgates and all of the prior events to the games, whether it be the concerts or going to the happy hour along the stadium street. Like it's now going to truly be an all-day event. And I welcome any SEC fans who want to come and take in a piece of Austin and take in a piece of the 40 acres.
Well, and we talked about this as well, and I realized the marquee game, for the Longhorns and for the Sooners, obviously it's Texas OU, and I get that, but I still, and I grew up with it, and it was a part of your life until it went away as well. Texas versus Texas A&M. I just think it's going to be bigger than it even once was. The fact that it's SEC football, and even the fact now that we're hearing, and we'll probably see in the vote, unless there's a reversal, that A&M does not want Texas in the SEC, and I think that just even adds more salt to the relationship.
Oh, for sure.
So when these teams finally do face off, and we should go back to what it was, which is always on Thanksgiving weekend. I just think it's going to be a bigger rivalry. It's even bigger the fact that it's SEC now, and I think that's a huge bonus for the Longhorns. I think it's a huge bonus for the Texas Aggies, and again, a huge bonus for the SEC because it's a big marquee game every year now for the SEC that I thankfully will be coming back sooner than later.
Chris, I can see the headlines now. A rivalry renewed, Sark versus Jimbo, something to be thankful for. It will be one of the marquee events of the SEC, of both of those teams, for as much as A&M is not really here for it at this moment. They too will reap the benefits of all of this because let's be honest, the winner of those games usually goes on to print T-shirts and merch and whatever, and those sell out like crazy. I mean, I think they're slowly starting to realize. I think we saw with that kind of retractment statement of like, we're here with the FCC and we're part of the conference and we support the right? Like they're like, okay, we even if we vote no because that's the way we feel, which they're allowed to do. There's no stopping this train. We might as well be okay with it and see what them coming to the conference, how we can spin it to benefit us, which they can very easily do. And there's no problem with that. Get the rivalry going. And we're asking today on our socials, when you think Texas and Oklahoma will start playing in the SEC. It seems inevitable at this moment, and right now 50% of the votes saying go ahead, put it on the list for 2022. 37% saying 2023, 9% saying 2024, and now only 1% saying never. Chris, it's gonna happen.
Oh yeah.
Never was that was like a joke. That's like a throwaway. That's like if you picked that, you weren't paying any attention.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's interesting, Shannon, and I agree, and I did vote 2022. I think it's going to happen real quick. We're getting a question on Twitch, which is cool. Our live video feed, you can get to it through Twitch, you can get through YouTube and Facebook Live. Red Dirt Ranch on Twitch asks, what's your take on what's going to happen to the rest of the Big 12 that is left over after Texas and OU leave and go to the SEC? I saw somebody tweet yesterday an idea, recreate the Southwest Conference. Now, obviously, the Southwest Conference won't be the same without Texas. But you do have, and here in San Antonio, you've got UTSA, you've got UTEP, which has a football team. Obviously, things will never be the same for those teams in the Big 12. And I think the smart money is they're going to go looking for other conferences. However, if you did try to create a more Texas-centric conference, keeping Baylor, keeping Texas Tech, kind of, going as Texas, maybe involve the Houston Cougars.
Yes.
North Texas has played some good football over the years. I know it's not ideal. I mean, and things will never, you lose the Longhorns and you lose the Sooners. It'll never be the same, but there may be a future conference there somehow if you really wanted to create a Texas-centric conference. There's a lot of teams you could choose from there.
Yeah, I think with Texas and OU getting out ahead of it, they, and who knows if this was just to save face, but allowing these other teams to have time to decide what their move would be, and depending on how fast the heads of the Big 12, Mr. Bob Bowlesby, is moving to try and save the Big 12 as an institution, as a Power 5 conference, they've got to move faster than these other schools. And there's word that schools like Baylor and TCU have already reached out to other conferences to try and join them. And if that happens, there's no saving the Big 12, and ultimately it'll come to a crumble, and then we'll have, the Power 4. Realignment was going to come. There was going to be a major shift. And there's still, even after Texas and OU get in, the SEC is growing and growing. There'll probably be some sort of shift just within the SEC that'll be huge once these teams are official. So it is a great question, and something that I'm sure those pieces will start falling the second it is made official that Texas and OU will be moving on, especially once we have a year to go along with it. Because I personally don't see the Big 12 surviving. Because even though University of Houston, I think, would be a great option to throw in there, even a Rice, UTSA is a great up and coming program, same as the Bobcats. They've really made some strides in recent years. It's just not the competition that I can see a guy like Mike Gundy sticking around and saying, "Yeah, let's do that every year."
Yeah.
Let me get in that competition. I mean, Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State University are heated over this. They feel like they are being betrayed. They feel like there are state issues that are being broken with Oklahoma making this move, mostly probably likely because they're doing it without them, because they feel like they are a top tier program right up there with Texas and OU. And yes, at times you are, but you, again, aren't the brand, and the brand as a whole. So the Big 12, I think, is right now an afterthought. as when it comes to the conversation with Texas and OU, but certainly in my mind, they don't make it out.
Yeah, and I see from Twitch, Red Dirt Ranch with a follow-up. Can you see Oklahoma State going to the Pac-12 or the Big Ten? That is one of the scenarios, Shannon, that we've heard about is 3 super conferences emerging. Yeah. SEC, Big Ten absorbing, as you mentioned, Baylor, TCU, some of these teams, and maybe the Pac-12 absorbing teams as well on the West Coast. Yeah, going to be fascinating.
I like them going to the Big Ten. I think it's a no-brainer. West Virginia would go ACC. And yeah, I think the rest split between those two, Pac-12 and Big Ten.
Shannon Salty Sweeney, spectacular Taco Tuesday from you. Let's do this again in 21 hours.
Let's do it, sir. Looking forward to it.
Woo! Jeremy Fouts, you continue to rock, sir. We'll try not to drive you away for Wednesday. All right. Our thanks to Jeremy Fouts. A great salty shakedown. If you missed anything or want to recap it, of course, there are podcasts. You can go find them at the iHeartRadio app and more. We will see you in 21 hours. Lots of Olympic coverage. USA versus Iran late tonight in men's basketball. Have yourself a great Tuesday. Adios, amigos. See y'all later.